Oh, we're going to do a podcast. I'm pumped. I just wanted to give you a bit of a fly through. So if you're the sort of person that likes to prep, awesome. I've also got a couple of fields below. If you could fill in, that really helps me orient myself to where I'd like to take the conversation, although for the most part is very spontaneous. There is a general structure that I like to follow. General storytelling, hero's journey type stuff, right? There's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end. There's an origin, right? It's your background. I'd love to get into some stuff that most people wouldn't know about as a result of your background. So I'd be curious as to what that might be. Next is there is some kind of call to arms. There's a call to adventure. This will be some kind of insight where you're sick and tired of, the current reality as successful as you might have been in the context of your potential. It's time for a change, and there'll be a situation. There'll be an insight, an aha, an epiphany, a moment. It could be caused just by a cool experience. It could be caused by frustration and pain, but there's like this sliding doors moment. Two paths diverge in a wood. King Arthur pulls the sword from the stone, Neo takes the red pill, and bang, the adventure begins. And then we get into the challenges, and the obstacles and the dragons that need to be slayed and all that sort of fun stuff. And I want to get into how you did it, right? I want to get into some of the nuance and the detail, because that's, I think, what makes this podcast a little unique, right? It's not just the story, it's a little bit of the how you did it. So again, in one of the fields below, I'm going to ask for where do you see some of your areas of expertise, right? So if I was filling it out for myself or for you in return, I'd be like, we've got the key person of influence methodology, like the 5 Ps. And so if you've got something along those lines, and how does that help people? Who are the types of people that would help? Well, then I can make sure that we can feature some of your IP in a powerful way. I mean, ultimately, I want this to position and feature you as the key person of influence. I want it to be an opportunity magnet for both of us, right? By putting you in lights. So the more we can kind of highlight the story, but also highlight your expertise, the better. And then of course we get to the victory. And so the more vulnerable and raw and real in terms of the challenges of the origin, the more people will celebrate your actual victory, right? If everything was okay back here and then you just become more successful, it's like, yeah. Whereas if it's like, you're playing the underdog back here and then there are these great wins. And the more we can quantify those wins. So again, in the sections below, if you can quantify like revenue, team, any savings in time or profitability or awards or things like that, like really think it through, because the more I can weave those through an introduction so you don't have to say them, but it's set up in the mind of the listener. And then we can talk to some of those things, or I can bring it up. I get to position you as that person as opposed to you having to explain it. But I find if that credibility building and that positioning based on the reality of the business, the episodes don't tend to have the same punch, cut through engagement, sharing, interaction. I'm also definitely gonna ask your vision of the future, and that sometimes stumps people, whereas key people of influence know where they're going. So if you wanna take some time to consider that as well. And then we're just gonna get into random stuff, like wherever we go, like how do you create a great day? What are some of the key insights you'd share to your old self? Things of that nature. So I'm pumped. I'm really looking forward to having a conversation. This is one of my favorite things that I do. I like to schedule a couple of hours for it. Doesn't mean we'll take all that time. We also use a tool called riverside.fm, which basically will use that. You'll leave it open at the end of the session and it'll upload all your video and all your audio, and we're going to turn it into lots of micro content as well. So if you could make sure, good audio please, good lighting, good framing. Sometimes I've interviewed people and kind of like their camera's been angled so they're just ahead, and that just looks weird. So if you could kind of make sure you're filling the frame, all that kind of basic stuff, and I'm sure it's basic for you, but if it's not, just take the time, quiet space, and we'll try and do this right. Like I said, I really want this to be a signature piece for you. I would love not only to share it with our whole audience, which I will, but if it's of a high enough caliber and quality that you could share to your audience, and proudly, in a way that attracts business, helps you close more deals, helps you attract speaking opportunities or whatever it is, that's the goal. And that's certainly been the effect that a lot of people on the show have already experienced. So I'm pumped. I'm looking forward to it. Please fill out some of the things below, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.